Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know.
And I would like us to try, all of us today, this evening, in the next hour, hour and a half, however it will take, to try and go on a like on an adventure together. Just let's try and be in that kind of mode, and just put aside everything that we already know and be open to everything. So this is just a request that I invite you to do. And all of you look so very nice and so very homing, like very, very welcoming. And I'm really privileged to be here. So, and excited. Also, I want to tell you, even though I speak English very well, because I am an English speaker from birth. Like my mom, she was from New Zealand. It is my first time giving a lecture about education in English. So I am excited. Bear with me, but we're going to go through this adventure together. So I'm Dina Cohen Becker. I have a lot of experience in education. It's actually, my experience in education started as me being a child, age of 6, going into school, and spending 12 of my worst years of my life. That's how I can sum up the 12 years of school when I was a kid. And why? Because the way I figure, they didn't teach me the way I should have been taught. And this is what I was going with since I was a kid until now. And this is also so that you can understand that this is a huge part of me that I really work for. And I do a lot of volunteering and work in the education because of this, because I really believe in a new way to teach the children. And we will go into this soon. Okay, so in this talk, we will talk also about, I was told that many people here are interested in the basic principles of the Israeli education. So I will go through this with you. Then I will go through a few challenges that the Israeli education is facing before the pandemic and after the pandemic. There were challenges also, many, many challenges before and after. So we will go through those, and then I would like to shed a bit of light in different ways that I'm currently working at that can shed some light on how the future education will look like and will actually work. That's the way I believe it will work. So that's the beginning, and I would like to start this talk with a clip, a video clip. And the reason I want to start with a video clip is because I want us all to be on the same page. As grown-ups, many times we forget in what times, what ages we are in very unique times and ages we are in. So I would like us to start. So hold on to the chair, because we're going on a 6-minute intense clip ride. I'm going to share the screen now. Just a second. This will take me a minute because, hold on. Just a second, sorry. Okay, sharing screen now. Six minutes about education, or where we are at the moment. Here we go.
That was a great video. Very convincing, even though I have no idea how was
So,
this calculated.
what does it all mean? Okay, yeah, I'll share this link for sure. No problem. So, and also this is 2018, okay? So this is like 3 years ago. And so we are living in exponential times. This is something I'm sure that we all know, but I don't know how much we realize it and how much we think about it every day. And I think the educational system should be thinking about it every day. So what I'm going to start with a presentation that I created, and we're going to go through some basic facts that about Israeli educational system, and then we will work our way through this talk. And some of the times I'll also like to ask you questions, and I would really appreciate that you will cooperate. So here we go. Okay. Oops. So I'm sure you all know this. I'm sure most people here, or all of you, are Jewish, and you all know how much the Jewish culture. No, oh, sorry, I didn't know that. So if you're not Jewish, then this is some news for you. The Jewish culture, it really, really values the society, the education. Education is very highly regarded. Like it's written here, many Israeli parents sacrifice their own personal comforts, financial resources to provide their children with the highest standards of education possible. This has been always for many, many hundreds of years like this, and still is. So in Israel, the education system, it consists of 3 tiers. I think that's how you pronounce it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, primary education, grades 1 to 6, ages 6 to 12. Middle school, 7 to 9, then high school, 10 to 12. This is how it's divided. And then it's compulsory and free education, ages 3 to 18. This is recently been changed. It used to be from 5 to 16, and it changed to 3 to 18. School year begins September 1st and ends June 30. For high school and middle school, it ends June 20. Okay, about the matriculation exams, I think in America you call it the finals. So high school in Israel prepare the students for these exams. They cover various academic disciplines, studied in units of 1 to 5. On an ascending scale of difficulty. So like, for example, someone can study some topic, some subject, level 1 level, 2nd level, 3rd level, 4th level, and 5th level, which the 5th level, of course, is the most difficult. And for each of these levels, they're granted a point that in the end it all adds up to points. So the matriculation exams in Israel, they're called Bagrut. That's the name in Hebrew. So Bagrut certificate and Bagrut scores often determine the acceptance into elite military units, admissions to academic institutions, and job prospects. So it's something that is very important. I think about close to 50% of the children graduate with these finals. This is pretty much the numbers these days. Okay, so those were the facts, and now let's just talk a little bit about the challenges that are happening in Israel. I was really privileged to be in Finland with an educational group, and so some of the things that I bring here as the problems in Israel are things that I actually learned that work in Finland, and we got lectures, and we got they explained to us why the Finnish educational system works so well, which it does. It's like the number one educational system in the world. And then I just looked at the way it's happening in Israel, and these are the things that I brought here, which I think need most things that need to be changed. So. Number one, in Israel, the ministers, they decide everything about the education. So the ministry, the government changes, a new minister comes up, and he wants to prove how good he is. And then he start.
Dina, we can't hear you. Your sound isn't working. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ilana. דינה, אנחנו לא שומעים אותך. דינה, משהו קרה לסאונד?
משהו לא בסדר.
I can hear both.
דינה, אנחנו לא שומעים אותך. I'll try to call her now.
Okay.
Dina, she cannot hear us and we cannot hear her, which is very problematic. Dina.
I would call her, unless we all start
Yeah, no,
waiting.
that's exactly what I'm trying to do now.
Okay.
Can't hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Dina, okay, חזרת. We lost you for about the last 2 minutes, maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to get back. Sorry, I'm not sure what was the last phrase you said, but you must go back at least 2 minutes.
Here?
No, you're on the right שקופיה. את היית במקום הנכון.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
the speaking. Okay, so
Here we go.
I'll just say it again. Okay, so in Israel, a minister comes in and he can decide to change whatever he wants to change in the educational system. But the minister, he's not even if he is a person that knows a lot about education, it doesn't matter. He just comes in, he starts, and he can't make all these changes, and then he has to make changes to be considered as a person who made changes, brought something new. But all these things that they make, it's like every 3 years it really it makes major changes to the whole educational system, and it causes a lot of problems. So what in Finland they did is they just completely separated the politics from the educational system, and this is what works for them. And then, if you want to know how to educate kids, you don't need to be a politician. You just need to be a person that knows how to educate. Of course, you can get input from the politicians or whatever, but it's not like they can go ahead and do all these major changes and לזעזע, how do you say?
To shock, maybe?
Yeah.
To shock, to
Not
disturb,
to disturb the whole system. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So another thing is we have in Israel a very rigid teachers union. They have a lot of power. They can go on strikes, and even if the politicians want to do some changes which are good for the system, and there were some things that they decided to do, but the union, they just stopped them by going on strikes. And also, even just you want to fire a teacher that breaks the law, or sometimes it's impossible because of this union. They're very, very strong, and they're working for the teachers. That's what they say, but it's not always what the kids need. So another thing is a very complex and expensive and unnecessary inspectorate. So these are all the people that go and inspect if the headmasters are doing their job correctly. It's a very big part of the Israeli education system are these people who inspect, and it creates a lot of tension in schools for the headmasters, that they have to always how do you say לרצות?
to make them happy.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
sure there is a different term to it, but to make them happy will do.
Thanks, Julia. So they always want to make the headmasters, not the inspectors happy. So they're not working for in the interest of the children. They're working in the interest of looking good, of getting more money maybe, but it's not in the interest of the children. And there's a lot of resources, a lot of money goes and doesn't end where it's supposed to end for the student. It goes for these resources. That's another big problem in Israel. Another big problem is the low quality of teachers in Israel. The acceptance bar in the colleges of the education is very low. That's number one. Also, the money, how much the salary of the teachers is very low. So these things, you have to learn and you have to know how to attract high quality teachers. At the moment, they're not attracting high quality teachers. Okay, so those are the big problems that we have, and the most pressing challenges that the Israeli education system is facing today is narrowing the scholastic and educational gaps. This is like Israel is like the lowest, I don't know how to say the lowest or the highest, but it has the highest gap between the ones that are very bright and the ones that are very lower grades, lower levels. This is like in the exams that they create. It's called PISA exams, or there's different names. These are exams that they do on the international level, and Israel is one of the worst. Very huge gaps. So this is something that needs to be taken care of very, very urgently, and also raising the level of achievement in all areas. There's a lot of that, and the most important part of it is improving the educational atmosphere in schools. There's a lot of violence in schools between children and other children, between children and teachers, mainly word mouth. How do you say alimut milulit? Verbal violence.
Verbal violence.
Yeah,
Right.
mostly it's verbal, but there's also physical, but mostly it's verbal. There's a lot of that going on in Israel. So that's something which is very important. So how do we face all these challenges? That's a good question, and I'd like to start to address this and the way I think that these challenges should be addressed. And I'd like to start again with a clip, and after the clip, we'll discuss it. Okay, so I'm going to start now with the clip. Wait, I'm not sure you can. I'm going to stop the share for a second, making sure. Oh, the sound is okay. It's shared. Okay, here we go. Let me know if you can't hear me or the clip.
Dr. Zoidberg! Hooray for Dr. Zoidberg!
Dina, זה לא זז, הקליפ לא זז. דינה, הסרטון לא זז.
What? It stopped in the middle?
Problems. The video is
Yeah, it's frozen. Dina, well, it seems like we lost her now.
Looks like Dina's frozen.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, now Dina has disappeared.
I can hear you guys.
Okay, but that's good. Okay, we can hear you, but we cannot see you. Can you do something about it?
No, it looks like the whole thing froze. I'll have to restart it. I'm sorry.
Okay, forget it.
I'll be back to you. I'll be back to you soon.
Okay, well, let's wait for Dina to
okay.
come back.
Yeah. Just wait for a second and we'll see the video again. Just a second.
No, the problem, Dina, הבעיה היא שאנחנו לא רואים אותך. את נעלמת, הפנים שלך.
I know, because everything is frozen. It's the computer problem. Okay, I'll be back soon.
Okay, we hope to see you again soon. So how are you today, ladies and gentlemen? Looking at these funny creatures. I'm not sure yet whether this is a good teamwork or bad teamwork, but they are funny.
Trying to figure out how to get rid of the picture.
Do you think you can get rid of the picture? I think it's only
Yeah.
13 minutes. Yeah, you can do it. Okay, go ahead.
I think I'm. Well, I just clicked to get her to stop sharing. Clearly it didn't work. You have stopped her from sharing. Okay. Julia, I'm wondering if you feel the same thing about what she's saying. It's painting a very negative picture of education in Israel.
Well, unfortunately, I have to say that I agree. I mean, these were the worst 12 years of my life as well. Well, back then when I was in school, and I mean, I was literally terrified when I was thinking of my kids joining school. And one of the reasons for us to leave where we live is because we knew that the regional school here is considered to be very good and very open-minded and very friendly and stuff like that. And so that was one of the reasons, because we wanted them to be in that school. So my kids' experience is not such a bad one. But I think we are an exception, because this particular school is particularly good, and the middle that's the primary school, and the middle school and the Tichon, the high school, are half private, and so we have a say there as parents, and so this school is better than an average one, and we pay for it. But we don't really have a system of private schools in Israel, unlike in the States. I mean, in the States, if you can afford it, so then you can have an amazing school with all sorts of specialists and teachers and stuff. Here in Israel, the schools are public schools, or with very, very few exceptions. Or they can be like, there's a minority of half private schools, and this is what we have in Kibbutz and Shemer, nearby, but again, we're talking about exceptions. Generally speaking, I don't think that the Israelis are happy to be in school or send their kids to school. Yeah, and that's why we actually want to change the education, and this is why we have Dina. Dina, are you there? Are you ready?
She's not back.
She's not back yet. Okay.
No, but
I'm back.
You are now. She's
Yofi. Okay.
Okay, great. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, get in. We can see you and hear you.
Okay, so were you wanting to ask? Maybe we can also do a break now and ask some questions, and then we can continue if there's any questions about this part of the section, this section of the talk. Go on, Ilana.
No, we usually save questions for the end so it doesn't get
No. There is an important question here which I would like to address, or maybe Dina, you can. Anyhow, there is an important question by Ellis. Do students need to complete a specific level to go to the army, or do all students go regardless? So this is an important question. I mean, no, military service is compulsory, even though, as we discussed on previous presentations, not everybody actually joins the army, but it's not about the level of education. It's not about the final exams. I mean, if you do have a bagrut or you do not have a bagrut, that's not what will define whether you will join the army or not. And you can reach very high level of commandment if you are a good soldier, regardless of your education. On top of that, the Army provides an option for completing the education and passing the final exams for soldiers who join the Army without having this bagrut, the final exam certificate. So yes, I mean, the military is for everybody. You can get straightforward into commandment and even expand your education in the Army. So, Dina, sorry. That's it.
Oh, okay, no problem. Great. Okay, I can see another question here. Do most teachers have to have a second job? All right, I lost it. In order to stay in the profession, how to explain the innovation and startup nation versus the poor education results? Okay, I have a few questions here. Is it true that Israel has very low math scores compared to the rest of the world? Could not Israel raise the pay, attract better people, and raise the standards? How about raising pay and losing the Strange hold of the system. Yeah, okay, so you guys have the right idea. For sure, these are things that need to be done. Why it's not happening? Well, there's many reasons for this. I'm not going to go into all of these reasons why it's not happening. Most teachers don't have a second job because even though they're teaching, you know, from 8 maybe till 2, 3, still they have to prepare themselves for the next day, and it's like a full-time job, so they don't have they can't take another job on themselves. It's a very, very strenuous job to be a teacher in Israel. How to explain the innovation in startup nation versus the poor? Well, it's a good question. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I don't have the explanation for this, but I know that we can do better. That's for sure. Okay, so maybe the Israelis they still have this brilliance to them, and it helps them. But I'm certain that we can do much better. Is it true that Israel has very low math? Yes, it's true. But again, these exams, we don't always have to take them very seriously, because these exams that are taken internationally, they're, you know, if a nation wants to prepare their children specifically for these exams, then they can. You know, it's not very accurate. It's not very, and also, you know, I never look at these exams as something that actually explains if the students will achieve high grades or not. It's more of a game. It's more, again, it's a more political game. Okay, so I'd like to go back to that clip and try to start to answer of how we can address the challenges that we face. I'm going to share the screen again. I'm sorry about what happened before. Here we go.
I'm Dr. Zoidberg. Hooray for Dr. Zoidberg.
Well, you can't see it? Okay?
Huh? There you go.
Okay, so I'd like to ask you, everyone here in the Zoom, why did I bring this clip about good teamwork, bad teamwork, and what has it got to do with the solutions that we're looking for in the education? Maybe someone can shed some light on this. Please speak up if you can.
I think that we need to have an objective, right? And we need to see that if we want to reach this objective, we need to work all together, and we need to look for strategies.
I don't think I could not hear you. Is it possible for you to remove the mask?
Like this, can you hear me?
Yeah, much better.
Yep, I'm sorry. Well, once again, I think that we work as a team. We work with we need to reach an objective. Okay, we need to if we want to reach an objective, we need to work for different strategies. So the idea here is that as a schools, we need to be creative. We need to use all the tools that we have already. And in this case, with technology, we need to look for this kind of strategies. Even if we don't have a lot of tools, we need to work all together, because all together we can have ideas, we can have different strategies in order to reach these goals.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yes, please go on. Selma, please.
So I think that when I read Startup Nation, I realized the value of the Army experience for many people, where they get attached to a unit, a group, and then after the Army, many times they stay in touch with each other, the book said. And I know a group today that had been together in the Army. They started a company called CyberArk, and it's because of all of them working together with different talents, different ways of thinking, that they were able to create something phenomenal that we need today. And it's really putting our brains together. No one has all the answers, but together we can create something even better, is what I think.
I would like to add to that, and I agree with what Selma is saying. And I'm a teacher, and I actually showed that video to my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I don't bring in my Sorrel experience, Selma, but I think that you've said it very well, because the people that I started working with Sorrel years ago, I'm still very close to, especially here in the United States, and we're always texting and calling each other. But I told my kids that today, it's more than ever, we should not always be thinking independently. It's great to be thinking independently, but we need to think as a group. And as you're saying, Selma, we need to bring in everybody's talents and everybody's strong points, and even recognize somebody's weakness, because that weakness might be a strong point for somebody else. And this video, and there are a couple of others, I think really, really touches on that we have to think as a group, not individually. As much as we are teaching kids to be independent, as I said, I'm in a school right now. You can see the flag right behind me. I'm in my classroom. We teach them to be independent, but we still have to rely on each other.
I wasn't sure whether in the first video, whether that caption that said good teamwork was sarcastic or not, because it wasn't clear to me that the large bird, who was different than everyone else, was meant to be like somebody who came in and gave them advice or a scolding, or had the answer, or whether it was somebody who was different. And so if it was somebody who was different, then the meaning of that whole video is very different. The meaning of that video is that the group coalesced not to accept somebody who was different. If the large bird was trying to tell them what to do, which wasn't very clear to me, then then it has a different meaning. So And then I really had to wonder about that caption, that this is good teamwork. I'm not so sure that that was an example of good teamwork at all. But to your point, if the point was that we need to work together, then of course that's an obviously important point. But I'm not sure that especially that first video or actually the second one demonstrated that point very well.
Yeah, Rudy, you're right. Thank you. You're right. Also, I agree in many ways that the first part where with the big bird and the little birds, they actually did work as a very good team, getting rid of them. It was great teamwork. But yeah, but the video did brought it to show the point of good teamwork and bad teamwork. And what you said here, everyone, if someone wants to add, we can still hear another person if you want to add. But I just like to say, yes, the point is that the way to face these challenges is to work as a team. And this is where my story comes in. Like I said, I started with the education as a student, of course, and not happy as the system was working. And I did go and start teaching. I was teaching for 2 years one subject, and then for a couple of years another subject, and I just left because I couldn't work with the system as a teacher. And I left and I did other stuff. I was a computer technician. I built websites. I did different things. And then I stumbled upon a course which is called Integral Education. And this is where my life really changed, because in this course I learned about a new way to teach. And I fell in love with it, and I continued with that group of people teaching this integral education, going into schools, teaching other teachers integral education. And I'll explain what it is. I'll go back to the presentation and explain to you what this integral education is about. Just a second. Okay, so like I said, I saw this integral education. I went into teaching teachers. I learned also in this integral education, I learned about gamification, about connection games, teaching connection games. I started developing parenting courses in this same topic of integral education. And right now I'm working in a virtual social school. It's not yet a school, it's still a pilot, but we're going to open beginning of September, and I'll go into that soon. So the integral education principles, they look at people as parts of the whole system. So today we do educate children to be independent, which is great. However, in integral education, we don't encourage competition of one child against another child. We do have in competition against time. If we have a game, then we go against time, against our previous achievements, but we don't encourage competition one against the other, because we think it creates a lot of tension, and unless the children learn much less when they compete against each other. And as the system is created at the moment, there is inbuilt competition into the framework, because they have all these marks. You have to have achieved these different marks, and if you don't achieve them, then you don't pass. And this is competition. It's creating competition, and it's actually creating the opposite of what it's supposed to do. Kids learn less because of this. And if they do learn, then they learn for the test, and the next day after they forget everything. They get the mark and that's it. They splash it out and it's out of the head. So they don't take this information further to their old when they grow up. Okay, so another principle is education should first teach a child to be a person that can integrate and contribute to society. Okay, so right now, I don't think that this is what the most of the educational system is focusing on. It's focusing more on achieving, I don't know, memorizing information, understanding information, but not in turning these children into being people that can contribute to society. There's so many things they don't learn in school that they should learn in school, which is much more important than what they do learn. In order to, we grow up, we leave school, and we're just, it's like we don't know how to go to the bank, we don't know what to do, we don't know what bank is, we don't know about girls and boys, so many things, we don't know how to cook, we don't, so many things we don't know how to do, which are so much more important than what we do learn in school. So the next thing is that the main focus should be on connection and not on the scholastic level. And this is because in the integral education, if we look at the society as a whole, and we always make sure that the whole is whole, is fine, is okay, then when we look at it as a whole, then we actually take care of everyone and nobody's left behind. But when we look at society as individuals, then individuals can go one against the other, fight, be competitive and not look and not care about the other people that they leave behind, and this is a problem. So the main focus should be on connection, and if there is connection, then all the rest will come into place. The next thing is the education needs to be engaging. Like I ask you questions. I'm not only just giving you a lecture. This is engaging, relevant for the children. It has to be something that they can relate to, not just numbers and words. It has to be something from their lives so they can relate to it. And collaborative learning. This is the way that kids are supposed to learn, collaboratively, and not by a teacher that's standing in front of them and giving them a lecture. And the last thing is teach kids the way they want to learn. This is coming from the Bible, this Chanoch lanar al pi darko. This is a very important saying from the Bible, saying that, you have to go and find out how the kids want to learn. So if a kid is attracted to computer games, maybe you can teach them maths and English and science through computer games. If that's what they want, teach them the way they want it. If in Hebrew we say for them it's bishvilo ze dani, bishvili ze chalav. So for me it's milk, for him it's a dairy product. I don't know, something. But anyway, everybody will be happy. Us, the parents, will be happy because they learn what we want them to learn, and they'll be happy because they're playing computer games. So that's another important thing. Okay, so after my career, not exactly career, but whatever I was doing in integral education, teaching teachers, and then I got together with a group of people that are also teaching integral education. They wanted to open a school. This is before the pandemic. They wanted to open a school in this with this pedagogic point of view, and we were getting together and starting all this, and then came the pandemic. And this was great for us because this gave us a way to be ahead of others. The reason is we understood that we need to create this virtual school. And in the virtual school, we took our values of connection into the virtual school. And we tried to create something which has this value, because the biggest problem, and this is like if I want to go now and talk about the problem of the pandemic, is that the teachers, in most of the cases, they took the same structure that they teach in schools, like, lecturing them, and they took it into the Zoom. That's what they did. But it created a problem. So beforehand, if the kids they weren't very connected anyway in class, now they're put on Zoom in these squares like you are.
Dina, we can't hear you again.
Hear me again?
Now,
now you can hear me?
Now you're back. Yeah, you're back.
How long?
No, just a sec.
Just a second.
Okay, so the children, they're put in the Zoom in these squares, and beforehand they were sitting next to each other. Even though you're not allowed to talk in class, you still have these social interactions, and then in the breaks you have social interactions, and this gave them life. This gave the children the life, these little social interactions. I'm talking about, I mean, I know that many schools do teach collaborative teaching, but most of the teachers in schools in Israel, and I think around the world, don't. So this is, I'm talking about the frontal, like now I'm giving you a lecture, and this is what children most of the time they get in class. Either they hear a lecture and then, okay, open your book and start doing independent work. There's very, very little interaction in class between children. So the teachers, what they did in the pandemic, they took this and put it on the Zoom. So even the little interaction that the kids had beforehand, even that they lost. Right now, okay, so nobody's talking to nobody. We're all silented. What did a teacher's dream? You can silence everyone and with a button. But then there's no connection, and the kids, they feel lost. I have a 13-year-old son that's studying like this for the past year. I'm sure you people feel that and know this. They feel lost. They have no connection. And this is a problem. And the thing is that there is a way to deal with this. It's not like something that we have to say, accept and say, okay, this is the way it is. No, there's a way to deal with it. And this is something that I got together with these people, and we're trying to make it social. We're trying to make this virtual studying social, with feelings and interaction, and we're managing and we're doing it. And I'd like to show you a video of what we did, a pilot of 1 month. I'll show you a video of it, and I'll show you, and then after this, a second video of what actually I'm doing right now, what my work is. I'm working in Minecraft, creating creating activities for the children to learn through Minecraft, learn maths and learn English and learn whatever we want to teach them through Minecraft. Okay, so I'll share the screen right now. Just a second.
Remote work at home.
Okay. This is an article, I don't know how to say it, that came out in the German TV RTL, and we just dubbed it in English. It was German before.
Home usually works quite well by now. However, remote work at home usually works quite well by now. However, you can't always say the same about online schools in Germany. Many children don't have a laptop, or the Wi-Fi is not good enough, or the technology doesn't work properly, and the children sit at home quite lonely. So a school in Israel is trying something completely new. The lessons take place in a virtual room, and the students participate with an avatar, a virtual self. Our correspondent Rachel Blufarb took a look at this.
Hello, how are you? Hello. Good morning. 8 a.m. The first lesson begins in the virtual school.
Good morning. We have now a history lesson, and we will visit a medieval city. Let's go.
60 students from all over Israel, from 1st to 6th grade, take part in the pilot project, each from their home, on their computer. They are all together as avatars in the virtual school. For several hours a day, core subjects such as English, math and history are taught in different 3D worlds.
In a virtual space, there are no boundaries like in the classroom, where you just sit there and the teacher fills your ears with sound from the front of the class. We fly into space, to the stars, underwater, and we get to know fish. We build every virtual world, it's limitless.
But you just can't play together in the fresh air of the schoolyard. Dana says she still has fun during the break, and that is exactly what the innovators care about. It's essential that every child should be seen, especially when their mood changes, and that happens very quickly, like for Dana today. Dana, what's wrong? I don't want to go back to school. What's happened? The teacher moved on to the next part, and I wasn't done with my project yet. And did you tell him that you're not finished? No, but he could have asked. It is an attempt to create closeness via the avatars. No easy task. I really miss being taken by hand to see the others, not just on the screen, but I also have the feeling that the teachers in the virtual world try harder to understand me, to respond to me. There are more real hugs from Mom. The parents' reaction to 3D learning are mixed. I see how motivated Dana is. That is new. Every morning she gets up now and runs to the computer. She likes to go to school, even if it's just from bed to the computer.
One more week, okay, but then he should finally go back to school. He shouldn't just sit in front of the computer for days without end.
During sports, the children move themselves on the avatars with the help of a homemade Make-A, contact interface carpet. The innovators are still in the first stages of development, experimenting with different technologies and games. The children have fun.
Well, I like sports best. This feels totally real.
But then the virtual school is unexpectedly pushed to its limits by a thunderstorm. Power failure, internet goes out, virtual school goes out with it. So traditional soccer. After 3 hours the problem is solved. The virtual school is up and running again, a cause for celebration. Tomorrow morning the virtual school will continue with renewed strength.
Okay, so this is what we did. We started this about a year ago, and we've checked different platforms. We're doing this different development. Just a second. Sorry.
Dina,
Yeah.
I just want to remind you that we are 1 hour long presentation normally. So right now we are just 1 hour in. So if you could please basically summarize the topic, and then if there are more questions or people want to stay longer, so they will be welcome, of course. But let's say that in about 8 minutes. Okay. Will you be able to finish the presentation?
Sure, I can. Yeah, no, whatever.
Thanks.
I thought to bring you another clip, but it's okay.
No, okay. So we will stay with whatever we saw and just let's make a wrap up thing.
No problem. No problem. Okay, so yeah, we learned a lot during this year. We're still learning. I create these activities on Minecraft, and then we get the kids to check them out and pilot them, and we ask them questions. We reflect. They reflect, and how they feel. Do they study what they study, and how do they feel? How do they like it? And so far, it's working real good. Of course, it's like new territory. We don't know exactly what we're doing, but we're studying, and we really believe that this is the way to go. The way to go in the social way, in the virtual way. We're gonna open the school up in September, and we have already many children that want to enroll. So we're gonna during the school year, it's gonna be some grades will do like the younger grades from years. We're gonna start from year 2nd to year 6, and year 2nd and 3rd they will be coming to school physically twice a week. And the others will be coming to school once a week, and the rest of the time they'll be at home virtually. That's the way we're probably going to go about it. But things can change. This is things that we're checking what's the best for the children. So that's it. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm here to answer anything. I hope you enjoyed my talk.
Dina, toda raba. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. Yeah, we were talking about this virtual school about, I don't know, a bit over a year ago. And then all of a sudden the whole world switched to virtual schools, and then we can see the pros and cons of it. So it is so relevant. Thank you so much. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. We will turn to the questions now. I would just like to remind you that this is a pay-as-you-wish presentation, meaning that donations are highly appreciated on the usual PayPal account, which will be typed in by Ilana in a minute. And I would also just want to remind you that this Thursday we will be going to Shomron, to Shiloh, and Mount Ebal. You're all welcome, of course. And then next week we will have a presentation about street art and graffiti in Tel Aviv. Totally different, beautiful, very lively presentation by Stav. So that's next Tuesday, in a week from now. And then Thursday, we will be following the footsteps of Sanhedrin. So we will be walking from Usha to Shfar'am in the Lower Galilee. Okay, so that's it for now for me. And back to Dina. Dina, you have a few questions here. Oh, yeah, you see it. Okay.
Dina, you are on mute. And Julia, if you could read the questions, that would be great.
Yeah, of course.
Dina could unmute.
Oh, right, yes. Okay, so question number one, Dina Chamatati. Dina, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
So question, great. Okay. So first question is, do you work in a public or private school?
Sorry, she has to unmute.
Yeah, thank you. It's a private school. But we are in contact with the educational system, and we're going to start working with them because it's very innovative. So they can't just okay, go ahead, open a school. But they're going to work with us. We're probably going to work with them with a project, a side project, not on the school, but a side project, maybe teaching English through this Minecraft. We already have the discussion with the education system, and there's like this way of bringing in innovative things. It's called, I don't know, a tunnel. Anyway, they have a system of bringing in innovation, and we're in contact with them. Another thing that we want to do is actually open an international school for English, teaching English for kids all over the world. This is another dream we have, which I hope will happen soon. Okay, next question.
Okay. There is a question about, well, somebody wrote that this isn't working for kids on spectrum. And so there is a question, are you able to tweak this pedagogy for those on the spectrum? And another question is, how is it working for children under the age of 8?
Okay. So yeah, about the spectrum, I don't know how I don't have experience with autism, so I don't know. I don't know their abilities with technology. I have no idea. I know that they're less. You have to work harder with them to create connection. And I have a very good friend teacher that teaches these children with the same integral education principles that we talked about. She teaches them, and with big success. But this is physical, so I don't know how they're going to work with technology. I'm sorry. The other question, what was it?
It was, how is it working for children under the age of 8?
Okay, so in the pilot, we found that the first and second graders, for them, it wasn't very easy, the technology side of it. They enjoyed it, but it wasn't very easy, and their parents really needed to help them. But maybe if they pass this barrier, and also we felt that they need more physical interaction than the older kids. So maybe that's, like we said, we wanted them to meet twice a week physically, and then 3 times a week online.
Okay, there was another previous question about, is there any difference between schools in towns and cities versus schools in kibbutzim? So would you like to answer this one?
Okay, this is nothing to do with the virtual school. Yeah, we're talking about regular physical schools.
Yeah, we are talking about the existing schools.
Well, I can tell you from my experience that from my children that they went to schools from kibbutzim, and they're right now in a school of cities. I really much prefer the kibbutzim and the way they teach there. Even though it's not a very, very big difference, there still is a difference. There is more, I'm sure that there's good schools everywhere, yes, but in general, in the kibbutzim and the moshavim, they really try and put more focus on the children. And this is what's very important, more focus on the children and what's the best for the children and not for the marks and for the school to say, it's what the children need. Okay.
Okay, there is a question by Rudy. Are you familiar with the movement of social emotional learning and curriculum in the US? It relates to a great deal of the principles that you are basing your school on.
Yeah, I am aware of this movement of social emotional learning. I don't have any personal context. I heard about it. Yes, it is very much, and I think it's all over the world starting to be, more and more understandable. And I think it's a lot to do with the pandemic. I think the corona actually put it in front of us, in front of our. Rudy, you say no. I can see you.
It has a lot to do with the same kinds of issues that you were trying to, that you are seem to underline the principles of what you're trying to get on. It has to do with a more individualized approach. On the one hand, to maybe to the academics, and also to a lot of collaboration and teaching children how to organize and do teamwork together. And then also it relates to just how to problem solve. And so it relates to a lot of the themes that you were talking about. It's not exactly the same and the root of how it was built, but it's been a movement that's been active since the 1980s. It's changed a little bit. There's some very, very good social emotional curricula out there. I just thought it might add to what you were doing if you had a chance to take a look at it.
I will, for sure. Thank you, for sure. And I when I studied in a teachers college, they taught us that in the 60s they had this movement of collaborative learning. It was huge, and then they stopped it. And what I was taught that they stopped it because the Russians we have to start competitiveness because the Russians got to the moon first. So that's what I was taught. I don't know if it's true or not, but it stopped for some reason. More how do you say
collaborative
capitalism. The capitalism became very, very strong. It became very, very strong, and that's why they started teaching the children in this way as well.
Well, that's an interesting answer. There's a lot more to it than that, but you're right that a lot of the thematic learning and a lot of the collaborative learning and the individualist orientation were prominent in the 60s when I went to got my coursework in education. And but I think that's too easy an answer. There's no reason on earth that we can't have very, very, very strong academic learning and enhanced or learned in the process of collaborative and emotional social learning. In fact, you could argue that I would argue, a lot of people would argue that you need both of them and you need to marry them together in order to get the best work, the best academic, and the best outcomes, both socially, emotionally, and academically from the children.
Thank you, Rudy. Deanna, I know you have a question, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Alana. So Dina, I just wanted to ask you a question. Na'amad we have 16 technological high schools and 2 youth villages in Israel. And mainly we have at-risk kids. And I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts are about how the pandemic and how avatars and remote learning affects kids that are at risk. And I know you mentioned something that struck me, that there's a lot of violence in the schools and kids against teachers. And I just wanted to know if there was any correlation and what you had to say about that.
Correlation between what?
I don't know, at-risk kids or violence or how the past year has affected at-risk kids.
Well, the violence was more before the pandemic, because when they were physical together, that's when there was more, right now there's less because they're at home most of the time. But there is violence online for sure between the kids. And at-risk kids, I don't know about at-risk kids. I don't know if there's more violence there or less. I really can't say. I'm no expert about this.
Mm-hmm. And when you say there was violence, the kids against the teachers, I thought that was interesting. What did you mean by that? Just, and you said it was pre-pandemic. So what did you mean by that?
It's just something that's been going on for a long time. It's becoming worse and worse and worse in all the schools, that the children, they don't want to do what the teachers tell them, and then the teachers, just the ego against ego and clashes, and they talk rude, very, very rude to teachers. Teachers are rude back. It's a lot of, it's not nice. It's not a nice environment to be in, not for the children and not for the teachers. And I'm not blaming anyone. If I would blame anyone, I would blame the system. The whole system is set out for competition and set out for this to happen. If you just change the framework and you just, and these things are happening already in Israel. If there's this something called, it doesn't matter what it's called, but anyway, they're doing like a pilot that the children, if they get a mark of an average of more than 80 as a whole in the class, then all the children will get extra marks. And this little changed the whole environment in the class. You get it? So they started working for each other. They want this high mark, so they will work for each other. They started helping each other. So if you have a game, then there's a winner and a loser, then the game will create some kind of interaction. But if there's a game of both are the winners, like we call connection games, there's only one, everybody's the winner, then there's going to be a different interaction. And we want to, how do you say it in English? To grow or to develop more and more of the side of collaborative work, of teamwork, of feeling more relaxed in the class. Some people think, if it won't be competitive, where's the individualism of the kid? Where's the individual gonna come out? I hear this a lot, and I tell the people that ask me this question, it's the exact opposite. It's so beautiful when the children are working together with each other. That's when the uniqueness of each kid comes out, because they feel relaxed. And that's why it happens. They feel secure, and they feel that they can bring themselves, and they're not competing against others. But if in most classes in Israel at the moment, before the pandemic, the highest regarded kid in class was the one that was best in soccer. The highest regarded girl in class was the one who looked most beautiful. So this is, this needs to change.
Dina, there is an important question here asked on the chat by Carol and Barry. The question is, and again, this is a very familiar question. I know that you were asked this like million of times, and this is an important one. So if you de-emphasize the competition, are you preparing the students for the reality of the competitive society?
That's a thank you for this question, Carol and Barry. Very beautiful question, because yes, I am preparing them for any society. When we teach the kids to collaborate, then we teach the kids that when we work together, we get better results, which is the truth. And this is the way. The reason that Israel is so successful in high tech is because they do all this collaborative work. That's what they do today. They have this brainstorming. Nobody works alone today. Everybody works in teamwork. Every successful manager knows today that what they need to le taper, to develop, or to
cultivate.
Thank you. That's a beautiful word. What they need to cultivate is the teamwork, is the team, is the feeling of connection within their group of people. So this is what we need to teach the kids. We need to, at the moment, when I teach teachers, and if I'll ask you right now, and let's create a list of games that you play, all right? If we just create this list of games in 5 minutes, I will show you how 99.9% of the games we play are competitive. And why? Why is this?
That's because that's how we are born and raised. Okay, next question by Harry. How about de-emphasizing the grade and worry more about actual learning? Many forms of knowledge do not show on tests. Dina, could you hear me?
Yeah, how do we de-emphasize the grade and worry more about actual learn? What?
How about it? I mean, shouldn't we do that?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
To not concentrate so much on the grades and worry about more actual learning, because right now grades, at least in the U.S., are like the biggest thing. Who cares if the kid's learning as long as they get an A?
Yes, same is true for Israel.
Well, it's a question, how do we do it? Like we need to, like I'm doing, if it's important for someone, then try and do something else and try and bring it to the knowledge of more schools, and we have to prove that it works. If a system goes one way, we have to, and we want to change it, we have to prove that it works. So this is what stuff that we're doing. Fight, and at home also, not if you have a child that the grades is not so high, then don't make it a big deal, because it's not the most important thing. It's more important that he knows how to interact with his friends and peers, and will bring him, the more friends and connections and good connections he has as a grown-up, that will bring him more money and more personal development.
I don't see any more questions. Do you, Julia?
No, I think that's good.
So thank you, Dina.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Nava.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Diana, for joining us. Steve, I hope next time we will be able to hear you, even though you are under the water. And Dina, toda raba.
I will give Julia all the information, the clips, and Julia, you can pass it on, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. I hope to see you all the day after tomorrow in Samaria. We have some beautiful biblical sites to visit together. So I'm looking forward to meeting you out there.